Thank you, and you're welcome back. Um, Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about um, the mission. The mission being representing Ireland as a Paralympic athlete. And what I'd want to make clear really, really quickly is this is not about participation. It's not about, isn't it wonderful for Paralympic people to get a chance to compete in sport? It's a mission. Um, I'm going to talk about what it looks like to actually represent the country. Why pride is not the work. It's an aspect of, I suppose, an internal feeling, but it's about work. It's about the responsibility side of things. There's a massive responsibility. What I'd say is pride is what other people feel. Responsibility is what an athlete carries. That's my view anyway. That's definitely the way I look at it. I've got big shoulders. I feel a load on it. I won't lie when I put on the green, representing Target Shooting Ireland and also representing the country. It's it's not something I take lightly, and this is not participation. Most definitely, this is not participation. Um, I don't think a vest makes an athlete. I think a standard for me, it's the standard that makes an athlete. It's the discipline that makes the athlete. It's mind that makes the athlete, not even mindset, the way the mind is wired. I think that's everyone's competitive until you draw a line in the sand and you go, okay, so can everybody look to meet that mark? And then there's people who will want to step up. There'll be people who don't want to even take part because competition is wonderful, but actually not everyone is willing to stand up and be counted when it comes to being to being marked. We'll say um, it's not about ceremony. It's not the flag like in the back of the mind somewhere. Yes, I have visions of being on a podium, of course, but that's the end result. If you want, that's actually a byproduct of the process for me. I prefer to get gold medals every morning at 5 when I get up to start training. Gold medals on the rainy days for continuing with the discipline. Um, for the setbacks that come, I want a gold medal for that. For not gold as in I've won. I've actually won every time I've overcome the want of not not getting up at 5 to start, not analyzing in a subjective or not objective way a training session that didn't go well, not hitting a score that was expected, coming back from disappointment. You see, I actually look at things as in, so I don't make mistakes twice. The way I view mistakes are, you make a mistake once, after that, it's a choice. Um, I also know that I'm learning more from, and I'm going to use the word very lightly, failures, because I don't do failures. Things don't fail. However, things that don't go well, I learn more from the process of analyzing what happened and making sure it doesn't happen again. That's far more informative and far better for me than if I was to hit perfect shots. I've learned a lot less. At the moment, I'm the only Paralympic air rifle and small bore rifle shooter. SH2 is my class. I got classified last year with the IPC, International Paralympic Committee in Serbia, and now I'm licensed to compete the equivalent of the Formula One grid. Um, it's a fact. It's not ego. It's not pride. It's a fact. And with that comes massive responsibility. There's the other thing. So similar to management, sea level, all that. Everybody goes, "Oh, it's easy up there." It's not. You put yourself up there. It's not just wearing the jersey. You're held accountable. There's a massive amount of responsibility comes with these roles. Um, Stepping forward and going, I'm going to compete against the best in the world. I'm not going to just make up numbers. It's never going to happen. No more than it did in corporate life. I don't want to make up numbers. I want to stand out, but stand out for the right reasons. Um, what I'd say is emotion. This is a thing too. What motivates you? I've been asked this. I don't do motivation very well, to be honest. That's a fluctuating thing. Standards and discipline don't. So you look at the Christmas, first the New Year, everybody goes down to the gym. Um, 1 week later, 75% of those people are no longer in the gym. Why? Because the motivation was based on emotion. And that's a wonderful thing. And yeah, capture it for the moment, but don't let that be your compass. Discipline is the compass. Because on the mornings you get up and ask yourself, why am I doing this? Motivation will come and attack you. Motivation is, there'll be something else that motivates you at a point in time. But discipline, it's what holds you through. And discipline is a process too. Um, I'd say allowing emotion into this process, shooting. Can you imagine that? You've got adrenaline running through your arms. I'm saying my arms, by the way, I don't have use of my whole body. So I was going to say for a second there, when you'd run out on a field playing hurling for county or whatever, and there is a rush of adrenaline there. Now I have a right arm that works properly. And I could feel a twitch in that, all right. So you don't want emotion in there because that leads to other things. The twitching, the movement. I'm training against emotion, to be honest. I train my head, if you want, my mind to focus on the job at hand, which for me is not that big a deal. That's something I've always done. Um, if you ask anyone under pressure to choose between performance and feelings, I think performance is the one that most of the athletes and business execs would go for. It holds well. Um, Representing the country as a contract, nearly. Someone mentioned this to me recently. I was selected for Serbia to represent the country, and we're working on getting towards that now. That's a qualifier for the World Championships. You can't just show up at the big events, the World Championships, for example, just because you feel you can, or contrary to maybe some people's beliefs, just because I'm in a wheelchair. We don't all get together on a bus and go shoot together. So there are minimum qualifying scores have to be got as an entry point into the World Championships, and I have to go to compete at events to get to there. The work has already got to be at the standard before we do that. You're never going to execute reliably at a higher level than your ability. So you can't be shooting above or punching above your weight on that. If you're not doing it in training, you're not going to find it at a competition and repeat it. Who's to say you won't get absolutely lucky? I don't do a lot of luck. Luck is not something I put a lot of. It doesn't hurt to line everything up so that if luck comes along, it is there for it. But if luck was the only strategy I had or hope, I don't think I wouldn't be allowing myself to go down the route of representing the country. I'd say that there's a pressure comes on if you allow it, that once you put on the green of target shooting Ireland, who I represent firstly, and then the country when I'm abroad, then I actually think if that's what you're after, it doesn't make things easier. It really rubber stamps the level of commitment and the level of skill and achievement that's already there. But that doesn't mean that on that day that you get on the flight and go abroad or even compete here in the country nationally. I don't have anyone in the country currently in my class, therefore it's abroad I need to go. I'm not going to suddenly flip a switch and go, grand, okay, we're flying out there now, I'd better get serious. Every training session I take part in is done with the same level of intensity, focus, and clarity as I do in a competition of any sort. In Wales last year, we went to execute a process, and that was the first international event. Came back with a silver. So there was no surprises in the process outcome. Personal best at a competition internationally is not a bad way to go. I'm just wondering of the standard, because I train for my weakest position, if you want. So if I accept that raising the bar at a competition is not something I want to do, it can happen, and it's great when it does. But if I increase my lowest position and I'm sure my lowest position is as good as the rest in the world at the top level, then I don't have fears. Maybe that's a mindset that I have, or a mind I have. Um, I don't hope to get better at a competition. If it happens, fantastic. What I do is I raise my lowest position so it's better than everyone else's position. That's possibly what I'm trying to articulate. I know the numbers before I go. I don't show up and hope that someone else is not doing well. I want them on their I want them on their best the day I go to compete. So there's no questions that actually I won and nobody was at their worst that day. I came out, went, and I brought home based on the fact that I executed the process that I train every day. My process is the best process in the world. Byproduct of that, hopefully, it's going to be podiums. Um, it's definitely going to be the best process in the room that I show up in. Discipline is what I look at rather than motivation. As I said, getting up every day, putting up with the bad results from the training session or outcomes, underperforming, I should say, is what I'm talking about, not bad results. Um, I never go into a training session without a goal in mind. I start with the outcome that I'm looking for. I design the training session for that outcome, and I measure it against the outcome. And if it worked, then I know it worked well. If not, I go back and I analyze what was in the training plan that actually didn't deliver the outcome I was looking for. Um, I look at motivation like weather, Irish weather anyway. Changes every day, changes a couple of times a day. Discipline is what allows me think every day like the athlete I aspire to be, the one that's standing, if you'll excuse the pun, on the firing line at the moment in Los Angeles in 28 is where I'd like to be standing. That's not something I want to switch on the day before I'm standing on that start line. That's every training session. That's every physical training session. I split my day up into physical, technical, and psychological. 7-hour days, no different than anybody's doing in work, maybe even a little bit less if you were to look at it. Um, the discipline is following the process and working on the process to improve the process, but never changing the process while I'm executing the process. Um, if discipline is going to be conditional, then the results are as well. You you cannot expect the process to deliver a better result than it's capable of delivering. If you underperform, it's because the process was executed that way. It didn't. Processes are, I won't say they're flawless, but if they're designed right, they give you the outcome that was expected. You can measure and improve. That's the beauty of a process. You have something to rely on. You don't have variables. The responsibility, yeah, I have responsibility. I have responsibility for the people who support me, from training, from the Target Shooting Ireland executive, for example. The people who believe in me, like I'm passionate about this sport and I surrounded myself with people who are passionate about the sport. That's the thing. You need passion all around you. You need the right mix of people around you as well. It's like a C-level exec team. CEO at the top brings in the CTO, CIO, CFO. Similar to this, that's what we have here. It's an athlete-led program I have. The right mix of people with the right mindset who understand what's involved and are passionate. That's key. Um, I'm trying to represent the country in the best possible way. The only way I know to do that is to give everything I have. I'm not 110% guy that it's 100%. I just say I'm giving everything and it's visible. And it's also something that's articulable if you want. So if anyone asks me what the process is, I have one. And it's one that's available to be reviewed. We can refine it, but it's a process, something tangible. And the results are coming from that. Therefore, the team that are with me on the journey, I don't like to call them support team because I see a single level here. Not there's no senior levels or junior levels. There's one level, and everybody in that is working as hard as they possibly can. There are no egos. There's no room for egos here. If we're all working as hard as we possibly can in the one direction, there's no need for egos. There's no need for hierarchy. There isn't. Um, I have a role within the team. My role is just one role. I'm the guy on the end of the trigger, but everybody else on the team has a role. The sport international selection. This time last year, I started the sport. I'm only a year at it, which some people seem to think is interesting. Normally, it takes a longer time for people to get into the sport and to move forward. I got classified in Serbia last year. Been shooting internationally. My biggest competition was in Wales. That was 17 countries, and that was a silver medal. Um, I suppose it's a new sport for me, but it's not new in the fact that the processes, I've always been processes, whether it's information, it's always been IT of some sort, whether it's cloud or physical infrastructure, software development environments, that's the type of thing. So to me, this is no different. This is actually a really good environment to put a process into. Um, the training sessions are always the same for me. They've never suddenly gone into international. I don't just suddenly go, oh, this needs to be at an international class, this or international level, the training sessions. I build them around the necessity to increase my whole get higher results, more repeatable, more reliable results. That's that's just the way it is. Um, I'm not there to make up numbers. I won't ever want to be in a sport or any aspect, and I'm always working to develop me. That's the whole thing here as well. My performance is what I work on. A reliable performance based on reliable execution of a reliable process. That's the way it goes. Um, I got up one day, this time last year, I was at this a month, and I think I literally just went one day, flicked the switch in my head, going, today's the day I start becoming the athlete I want to be. And that includes my approach to training and the psychological, physical, the endurance side of things, the technical. That was the day I started thinking like the athlete I wanted to be. And that's what I'm working towards. I don't believe in talent. I believe in ability. Ability is a measurable thing. Talent is very much, I'll call it subjective. Um, I wouldn't like to think that representing the country is sort of like a label because mm, for me, I'm signed up for something really important. It means that I have a burden, if you want, to deliver. Now, I love that. So I call it responsibility rather than a burden, to be honest. I love responsibility. I've loved responsibility of delivering projects, even in IT infrastructure. I've loved the responsibility of leading teams into successful outcomes. This is no different. So rather than just saying, yeah, he's the Irish Paralympian rifle shooter, it's I am responsible for delivering results based on that. It's a role I've signed up for. It's not something that someone beat me into. I want this, and I want everything that goes with it: the training, the early mornings, the responsibility of delivering results. Um, yeah, I feel responsible. Pride is a part of it, but definitely responsibility. Yeah, there's nothing better than carrying that on your shoulders. I'm working on creating this repeatable process. Every shot is the same as every other shot. There is no last shot or next shot, by the way. There's only this shot I'm in. I shut the window down into that one shot. I don't care what happened before or what happened after. Point in fact, execution in Wales, the jury person, we have jury technical type people who are watching to make sure there's no cheating and things like that. And I was about to take a shot and I get a tip on the shoulder, and it's actually the jury person saying, "You're finished." I was so far into my process, I don't count shots. I don't even know what number I'm on, and it didn't come up on the screen, funnily enough. Normally, it comes up on the screen to tell you stop or finished, and it didn't happen here. So I was about to take the shot. And yeah, I was so far in that it was a jury member had to hit me on the shoulder and tip me and go, "You're finished." It was only then I realized, I didn't even realize at that stage that I had won silver. It was 10 minutes later I realized I was being lined up for a medal ceremony because I'm not looking at medals. I was delighted with the process. I was delighted with the outcome of the score because it was a personal best. But medals, respectfully, no one ever got up the day after and asked me, "So, how many medals you have?" Um, Plus, I get the satisfaction of knowing I executed my process. That's my medal. My medal. Um, what I'm looking at doing in the next video, yeah, I'm thinking of what it takes to represent your country. International competition, it demands a hell of a lot every day. I'd maybe give you some idea of the structure behind that standard that I hold myself accountable to. So yeah, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for stopping by.